Good afternoon to everyone today. I hope everyone is doing fine today. Okay, so new drivers and future drivers, and to all of those who enjoy my videos, I would like to talk to you all today about the business that Lyft has with Medicaid. And you new drivers and your future drivers, I want to help you understand what this is, this business with Lyft and Medicaid. Okay, now oftentimes as you're driving, whether you're just driving on a normal day, you'll see these vans with this writing on the side of it. Transportation, this company, ASAP Transportation, this name transportation. Okay, well, these vans are these are companies that have contracts with Medicaid to pick up Medicaid insurance benefit customers from doctor's appointments, carry them to doctor's appointments, and wherever else that the Medicaid benefits will allow them to take the riders that receive Medicaid insurance. Okay, now the contract that these transportation companies have with Medicaid, they have some things that they have to do within that ride to, as such as helping the rider in the car, helping the rider out the car when they get to pick a rider up from whether it's home or to the doctors. Okay, if the van has a wheelchair van, if it's a wheelchair van, if the van has a wheelchair lift, then they would utilize the lift to put someone that's in a wheelchair in the vehicle. Okay. People that need to be pushed in a wheelchair to the doctor's office, they are supposed to do that. They're supposed to accommodate the people per the instructions on the trip. These are transportation companies that has partnered with Medicaid to fulfill the high demand of Medicaid insurance recipients that have to go to and from the doctors. Now, these people get paid very well for what they have to do in their contract. Okay, so you see cars, you see vans, SUVs with the writing on the side, such and such transportation company. Well, these individuals have contracts with Medicaid to pick up Medicaid insurance recipients and carry to and from the doctors and places that the insurance benefits would allow them to, right? Okay. Now, then you have Lyft, who we drive for, okay? And for those of you that hadn't started driving yet, your future drivers, this is something that you need to pay attention to so you can understand this Medicaid business once you become a driver, okay? So then you have the Lyft drivers, right? Now, Lyft has some type of business going on with Medicaid where they done stepped in, who knows when, probably a few years ago when they started or whatever, and they received Medicaid demand to pick up the Medicaid insurance recipients and carry them to the doctors and things that in places and bring them back home and stuff like that. Now, this is where there's a problem with the business that Medicaid and Lyft have together. Medicaid and Lyft has Medicaid demand as well as these transportation companies. Medicaid partnered with Lyft. Okay? Lyft is required, just like those transportation companies. They are required to fulfill certain duties within the trip for a Medicaid insurance recipient, like help the rider to the car, help the rider out the car to the doctor, push the rider in a wheelchair to the door, at the doctor's office or home, okay? All these things that are attached to the trip, the instructions that's attached to the trip, the same instructions that these transportation vans get paid handsomely for, Lyft gets paid handsomely for. Now, this is where there's a disconnect. So when Lyft sends a driver a trip to pick up a Medicaid insurance recipient, you're going to see 90% of the time, you're going to see on the screen all capital letters in the name. So if the name is Hannah, you're going to see all the letters in that name capital. Okay? That's letting you know that is a Medicaid insurance recipient that you're going to pick up. Now, along with those capital letters, there's going to be instructions attached to the ride. And these instructions are going to say things like this: that the rider would like VIP service, that the rider has a walker and a wheelchair, okay, that the rider needs assistance in the van and assistance out of the van, okay, that the rider needs assistance to the doctor's office, that the rider needs assistance to the door of their house, things of that nature. Okay, now, when you sign up to Lyft as a driver on the Lyft platform, you are independent. That means you are an independent contractor. Lyft is not liability. Lyft has no responsibility to you at all, because we are independent contractors on their platform as drivers. Okay. Now, to help you better understand that is that we are not covered in no way. As a Lyft driver, you don't make nowhere near any money that you can go out and get, whereas you can go out and get you some insurance to cover you in case of an accident that may happen to the riders while you're assisting them, or to yourself while you're assisting them, right? So Lyft has accepted to do all this stuff that Medicaid requires these transportation companies to do. Lyft has accepted responsibility to get the high demand of their business, whether insurance recipients, Medicaid insurance recipients need to be taken to and from the doctors and taken home, you know. Okay, so then you ask yourself, you say, okay, well, if Medicaid is paying Lyft handsomely to do all these duties. Why isn't Lyft paying us? This is the gray area. And this is the con that's instilled in the app, right? And what I mean by that is Medicaid pays Lyft handsomely for those trips. Take notice that Lyft doesn't tell the drivers not to help any Medicaid recipients in the car out of the car. Notice that Lyft hasn't told you that it's not your responsibility to put someone in a wheelchair to the door, whether it's at the doctor's office or whether it's home. And a lot of you new drivers are going to do what the instructions tell you to do because you don't know. You don't have anyone to tell you what's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing to do. Now, here on my channel at Rideshare RealTalk on YouTube, I'm going to tell you step by step what you should and what you should not do. You just have to take time to look at my videos, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you can get the newest video as I release them. I'm going to tell you new drivers and you future drivers about everything that you're going to need to know that's going to go on with you inside of the vehicle and as you're proceeding to drive on a daily basis or whenever you decide to drive, as you enter the Lyft platform as a driver. Okay, so now, with all of this that I've just now said, as far as when we sign up, we're independent. That means we don't, they hold Lyft, the Lyft company and corporation, there's no responsibility attached to them at all. We are independent contractors and we're not covered. So we have to act as such, independent contractors. So we're not making but a small percentage of the money. So there's no need for us to go out there, and no one is going to go out, isn't going to go out there and put no insurance on themselves to be a Lyft driver. We're not making no money as it is. So it wouldn't make sense to go out there and put business insurance on yourself, right? And you're barely making money. The money that we're making, at least 65% of it is consumed by gasoline alone because of such a small percentages that they're paying the drivers. So we're not covered, okay? So when you get a trip and it's medicated with all capital letters, okay, as I said, 90% of the time you're going to see that. It's going to have instructions attached to it that we don't get paid for. Now we do have to accommodate a disabled rider by helping them, by getting their wheelchair and their walker and folding it up and putting it in the trunk or the back of your SUV or van if it fits. You don't alter nothing. You don't pull any screws out of anything. You don't alter nothing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because if it breaks during your altering process, you're going to be fully responsible for that Medicaid insurance recipient's vehicle being damaged, wheelchair or walker being damaged. They're going to blame you for it. That's why I tell you people, do not alter anything. If the man say, hey man, well, you can just take a screw out, they said, no, I would prefer that you take the screw out. I'm not going to do it. And I also prefer that you put the screw back in it. Now, that's all you're doing is covering yourself. Same thing with when you pull up to pick up a Medicaid recipient from the doctor or from home, right? When they get to the vehicle, as they come into the vehicle, some of them going to be moving slow. Some of them going to be barely can get to, in the wheelchair, get to the van. By no means necessary do you help them. Now, like I said, by right, when they get to the vehicle, you get their wheelchair and their walker. You don't pick them up. Now, this is why you don't pick them up, and this is why you don't help them in the vehicle or out the vehicle. We are not insured. We don't get paid no money for assisting these people. There have some payments that these transportation vans get for doing the job that's required in that contract. Lyft gets paid the same amount of money, but they give the drivers percentages based on the cents per mile in your area. And we don't get paid for that. We're not insured. You have to cover yourself and be smart. And you have to explain to the customer that you can't help them in the vehicle, out of the vehicle. Because if they fall while you're helping them in the vehicle, you're responsible. They're going to blame you. If you help that person in the vehicle that has a walker or a wheelchair, or someone that's disabled that can be able to move, if you help them in the vehicle and they fall, you're going to be to blame for it. Now, that's in the instructions. But Lyft holds no liability towards you. So they're off. This is going to be with you and the customer that failed. Okay? Now, also, if you tear a muscle in your shoulder and you send Lyft and say, hey, I'll just leave the hospital, I've torn muscle in my neck, helping the driver, helping a rider in the car per the instructions that was attached to the ride. As I was helping the rider in the car, the rider put all his weight on me because the rider has a walker or wheelchair, and it tore a muscle in my shoulder. And I went to the hospital, and that's what I have, a torn ligaments in my shoulders. Lyft is going to tell you, with all due respect, we appreciate your good job and the service that you do for our company, but you're independent. We hold no liability to you. And sorry, we can't do anything to help you, right? So this is what you need to keep in mind when you get to these trips, these Medicaid trips in your phone, and you go to pick them up from home or the doctor's office. And when you get there, you see all these instructions attached to the trip. If it's not the wheelchair and the walker like you're supposed to do, fold up and put it in the trunk or the back of your SUV or van, all of the rest of that other stuff, don't do it. Because you're going to put yourself at risk, and when we do not get paid for it. Lyft is getting paid handsomely for all of these Medicaid trips, and they're giving us a very small percentage of it. And we are the drivers. We have to bear the burden of all of the attitudes that comes with these Medicaid riders being upset with Medicaid and logistic care for making them late to doctor's appointments or taking them home late when they get in a Lyft. Because see, when Lyft can't send a transportation van to pick these people up, When Medicaid can't send a transportation van to pick these people up, their next result is to reach out to Lyft. They send the trip to Lyft. Lyft, in turn, sends the trip and the directions attached to the trip to the driver. That driver is tasked with going to pick that rider up. Now, if that driver don't know what they're supposed to do, they're going to do everything that's attached in the instructions and wind up making the rider fall on the ground and be fully responsible for it because it was in the instructions of the ride sent to you by Lyft, who's getting paid handsomely to do things that the transportation companies get paid handsomely for doing. Now, as an independent contractor and a driver, Lyft is getting paid that money. You're not getting paid that money. You bear all of the problem that comes with helping someone get in that van or the car and they fall and hurt themselves. You're going to accept that. You're going to be blamed for it. If you push them in their wheelchair to the door of the doctor's office or their house, and in the process they flip over, you're going to be responsible for that. If you're helping them out of the vehicle to the doctor's office or into their house, and you pull a muscle in your back trying to help these heavy people, they use walkers and wheelchairs to get around, or someone with very little movement that doesn't have a walker or wheelchair, you pull a muscle in your back trying to help them. When you reach out to Lyft going to tell you that we cannot help you because you are independent contractor. Okay? Keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Please understand that this is a business. You have to treat it as such. We're out here to make money, not be made out of assholes. Not to be pimped. You understand? Not to have all these hidden fees tucked in the algorithm that's being held away from us. See what I'm saying? We're not getting any of this stuff. And you got to remember the Lyft platform is getting high volumes of fees on a every minute basis because someone is completing a ride every minute on the clock. And Lyft with these hidden fees and things of that nature, they're keeping all of that money, which is in tune amounting to millions of dollars on top of all of the money that they're taking from the drivers per trip. This is why the drivers are not making any money. This is why there's hundreds of thousands of drivers protesting and striking in different states around the world because no one is being fairly compensated. There's a bunch of them that's going to try to turn everybody else that's struggling with these Lyft and Uber platforms into liars to push their agenda. You know the Rideshare challenge that I'm talking about. I'm not going to mention it. You know what I'm saying? What's up? You know what I'm saying? So, I just want you all to understand, as new and future Lyft drivers, and to those people that's not driving but that enjoy looking at my content, I want to give you as much information about this platform, this business model, this platform, as I can. Okay? I'm not going to be always 100% right, but I'm going to hit 90% of the time. I'm out here in it every day. And I'm also an entrepreneur, right? And it's a lot wrong with this business model. And I'm going to continue to do it so that I can make sure that I educate as many of you new and future drivers so that you all can be better prepared than I was when I came out here to drive. I can't tell you not to drive on the platform because you may need to drive for whatever financial purpose that you may need. I just want to have you well educated. Now, I would like to ask you all once again to help me support the channel, right? To like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you can get my newest videos as I drop them. You all have the rest of a wonderful day today. And to all my fellow drivers, hey man, we got to stick together. You know what I'm saying? Let's continue to be courteous. You know, even if we're not making money, let's continue to be courteous. If one customer make you mad, shake it off because you got another one that you got to pick up around the corner. We got to, hey man, even if it's a fictitious smile or demeanor, we have to uphold it. Two wrongs don't make a right. They're robbing us blind. That don't mean that we have to give out a bad service to the customers. The customers don't understand what we're going through. They heard some of the stuff from us and from whoever else, but they really don't understand. Their goal is to get somewhere for as cheap as they can. They don't realize that the cheap fares that these companies are charging them is hurting the drivers. You know what I'm saying? So until I get back to you all with my next valuable video, let's get this bread, baby.